All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Oil Stream. What a day. We are here on Edmonton Sports Talk for your reaction. Your reaction to the news that they were hiring Stan Bowman prior to the availability, your reaction from the availability, your reaction after the availability. What say you? For some of you, your opinions may have changed. Who knows? 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can hit us up in the inbox. We will get to those as well. And, if you're watching over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up for us. If you've not yet subbed to the channel, we're trying to make that push to 10,000 subs before our one-year anniversary in early September. So we would appreciate that as well. Lots of good reaction flying in over on the nasty chat. Scotty Knows says, no lock shop today. Dude, I love you. It's always tough to bump the lock shop because all I want to do is bet golf right now. But we decided to bump it today. Obviously, huge news here surrounding the Edmonton Oilers. What Coolbet is going to put out our golf picks on their social media a little bit later on. And I will have a lock shop play of the day a little bit later on as well with our betting partners over at Coolbet. 780-218-9999. And we will get into a few of those. Timber Woodsman right away says, didn't talk to the players about the decision. Yikes. Who knows? I mean, that's what they're going to say. I'd be a little bit surprised if a guy who was Connor McDavid's agent for so long doesn't give Connor a quick call and be like, here's who we're hiring. Here's how we think it'll go over. Here's how we're going to handle that. Please stay with us for the rest of your career. I feel like there's probably a little bit of a conversation there, but what do I know? 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat today as well. We are going to be here up until at least 1 o'clock. We're looking at probably about an hour and 45 today here on the Oil Stream. We're going to start it with Joaquin Gage, who, of course, joins us on Two Guys and Goalie, joins us on the Nielson Show, joins us on the Hangout. And today, especially, joins us on the Oil Stream as well. You're basically hitting for the cycle this week. Gager, what an interesting morning in this market. Your thoughts on the press conference that we just witnessed?
Well, first I thought we were going to have a pit stop, pals. I got all excited, Dusty.
That would have been nice. Then, I'd rather be talking Formula One right now. I'll be honest. Me too.
No, I wasn't. Unfortunately, I had some stuff to do this morning, and I wasn't listening. And then, then all of a sudden the hits start coming. Maddie says, "Can you come on?" And I'm like, "Geez, what's going on?" Surprising move by the Edmonton Oilers this morning, to me anyway. I know there's a bunch of mixed emotions. I had to go back and watch the hour when you hit with Macramella, and just it was so funny because nothing, and then it was all this whole decision. And Macramella, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen. He had some great points about this. I think the biggest thing I took was why, first of all.
Yeah.
I took two things, and you already hit on one. The two things I took from that presser was, one, Stan Bowman got out ahead of it and took full responsibility for what happened with Kyle Beach, right? Spoke with him, informed him he was going to get another job in the NHL before this was announced. I think that's important. And said all the right things. I don't think there was one thing I would have liked to have heard more from him, how he explained the situation and how it ended in Chicago. Now, what gives me ultimate pause is the fact that Jeff Jackson said he didn't consult with his big dogs of what was going to happen here. That's surprising to me, Dusty. If that's
like I said, I partially don't believe it. I mean, what you do say is you didn't, so that none of this gets put on the players, which it shouldn't. I mean, this is not their decision when it's all said and done. But I have a hard time believing that somebody as important to the organization as Connor McDavid would have just got a call that said, "Hey, we hired Stan Bowman." Just so you know, I don't know. I don't think that's how you would run that situation.
Connor, he has a couple more years, right? The main concern to me, Dusty, is how Leon Draisaitl feels about this whole situation. And the conspiracy theorist in in me. I go back, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but this is kind of what I heard way back when, is Connor McDavid does not like the reference McJesus because he comes from a religious background in his family. That's what I heard. If you look at all the broadcasters, like the in-house they never refer to him as McJesus. And I think there was a little bit of a discussion there. And this could affect some players' view on coming to Edmonton, where you had everyone clamoring to be part of the Edmonton Oilers a few weeks ago, to now a fly in the ointment a little bit with this hire. I like you said, Dusty, I don't understand why. I think Stan Bowman has proven he's a good GM. I've been trying to look at track records and see his moves, what he's been able to accomplish. Yeah, like Ken Holland, not all home runs.
No, there's a few misses along the way there. And they're basically, their entire core was drafted before he became GM, right, in Chicago. He got handed Kane and Taves. Now, he was a part of the staff, I believe. But, I mean, he's not the guy who gets credit for finding Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, in my opinion.
Right now, he reminds me of one of those little kids that plays a football game and they give him the handoff against men and he runs for a touchdown. That's essentially what Stan Bowman's got, right? Like, everyone's diving all over the place. Oh, he was handed, and everyone's just getting out of his way here. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, Dusty. In my personal view, I don't know why the reasoning was to make this move at this time. But then again, we'll see how it affects Oilers fans. What is their reaction going to be? I just think the Oilers are dealing from such a position of strength that it doesn't matter what they can do.
This is what I was going to ask you, and I think this is a fair question, and I don't want this to come across as a slight to the fans, because Edmonton Sports Talk exists because fans in Edmonton are hardcore sports fans. They're very passionate about what they do. Our numbers today have been big because the Oilers did something of significance. So this is not a slight. This is just reality, and everybody, whether you want to admit it at this very moment or not, is the Oilers do this because they know in the market, from a business standpoint, Gager, they're essentially untouchable, right? Like, the sponsors aren't going to bail on the Oilers because of this. Fans, and there will be some, and I give those fans credit who text in today and say, "That's it, I can't handle this, I'm done." And I give those fans a hell of a lot of credit if they can stick to their guns on that, because I know a lot of people are going to be very fired up about it. But if Connor McDavid's going for 50 goals in 50 games next February, I mean, people aren't going to care about the history of Bowman. That's not just an Edmonton thing either. This is like a professional sports vibe. I feel like that's because you sit here and go, why would the Oilers think that they could do this when knowing, like, if you go look at the tweet that they put out when they hired him, it is like 90% people just absolutely torching the organization, but they're kind of in this bubble that they've created that they can do whatever they want, really, and not worry about the reaction. That's just the truth.
The bottom line comes down to ticket sales and merch and everything else, and that's the only way that you're going to see. I think Matt even said in the hangout too, like the power of the fans, and you see this in Europe with football teams. Like, the fans get on, they want to change in our coaching change. They can influence these things unless it affects their bottom line. And if the fans have the intestinal fortitude to stick with their guns and say, you know what, this is too much for me, I don't feel it's right, and not support their team, there's nothing's going to happen, and I don't think it will. The Oilers are in such a unique position in the city of Edmonton to be. I mean, there's some great other sporting events, and we love going to these things. But let's face it, Tessie, they're the only game in town.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, it's an Oilers town, right? It's not a hockey town. It's certainly not a football town right now. It's an Oilers town, and then a what's hot town. And the Riverhawks are hot right now. People love going to watch the Riverhawks. It's a great time being at the ballpark. But it's it's very much an Oilers town, and that's why the Oilers can sit here and do whatever they want. Looney Len says bubbles always break, Dusty. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think this bubble breaks. I mean, it's like with Corey Perry, and Corey Perry's situation was different, but it didn't look like anybody around the league wanted to touch him, and the Oilers are like, we'll do it. And it worked out relatively well for them. And Corey Perry, apparently he's got everything back on track, and maybe in Edmonton they can help. Bowman, he's worked on it. He's developed some relationships. The whole Sheldon Kennedy thing I find interesting. But I still doesn't sit well with me when somebody has to say, I've learned that what I did in the past was wrong, but you still allowed that to happen. Like, I just don't know how you wouldn't have put the brakes on it then. Like, I don't know how you have to learn that having a member of your staff sexually assault one of your players is you learned that it's wrong now, as opposed to the moment it happened going, holy shit, this can't happen. Like, it's just a good for him. If he's gone through all that, I get that. But there'll always be that little part of the back of my mind that going, wait, you had to talk to people to learn that was wrong? Because I kind of feel like you should just know that's wrong.
Well, and all the other things, and I wouldn't mind reading that report to see it all. But what struck me as really unfortunate throughout the whole time was this guy got recommendations to go somewhere else. Like he was like, okay, let's get him out of here. Let's put him somewhere else and not worry about the ramifications of what happens elsewhere. That's what you let the predator go. Something, it should have been stopped then, and it was just, let's just get this out of the way. Let's sweep it all under the carpet and throw the carpet in the river and not have to worry about that again. That's what really was affected me in that whole situation. I don't like it. I think you were in such a unique position to keep so much momentum going forward, and now to do something that you knew that was going to cause friction. You knew this was going to be talked. You knew there was the possibility that this could alienate some people, some fans from, and good rapport with everyone. The fact that I don't like the fact that Sheldon Kennedy was there. Like, look, he says it's okay. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with me. Maybe I'll get over it, and it's great that he's done work and stuff, but it to me it just doesn't sit well with that whole thing that happened and what you could have accomplished. I don't think that someone else could have been picked to help your team get to that next level, to collaborate on the level that Jeff Jackson was just talking about in that press conference to make your team better.
Gage, you're great stuff, man. Appreciate you hopping on today. We'll obviously dive into more of this tomorrow, but we got a ton of reaction that I'll sort of sort through here as we work our way through the oil stream. Appreciate you popping on, buddy, and I'll talk to you on Two Guys tomorrow.
All right, see you at Spa.
There you go. That's Joaquin Gage joining us here on the oil stream today. And yeah, your thoughts on all of it. That's what Edmonton Sports Talk is. It's a sounding board. It's a lot of our opinions, a lot of our hot takes as well, but with our following, it's more of what you guys are thinking. So 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or hit us up in the nasty chat as well. And I know they said that they were going to make Sheldon Kennedy available to some members of the media after the press conference. It was interesting with Gager's thoughts on Sheldon Kennedy. Where do we come out on that? I'm kind of like, I don't want to say you're trying too hard to be like, look, everything's fine now. The report, I'm looking at the report right now. I mean, if you want, I could read the entire report from Sheldon. It's like a 3-letter page from Sheldon Kennedy on why he thinks. I mean, at the end of it, he He says, so why am I writing this piece? I believe Stan would be a valuable asset to an organization due to his acknowledgement of his past mistakes and his relentless efforts to make the locker room and game safer for everyone. He possesses insights, knowledge, and confidence needed to lead in this area. I feel building a strong and healthy culture with an organization and practicing on an ongoing basis will be a top priority for Stan. I also believe Stan will carry this message within the hockey ecosystem, which can only help. Lastly, and then most importantly, I feel that Stan will do everything in his power to make sure what happened to Kyle Beach, who is a hero in my opinion, will not happen to anyone else. I know wherever Stan lands, whether in the game of hockey or not, he'll be a true champion in the important area of respect. That was from Sheldon Kennedy, who is the co-founder of the Respect Group. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. And let's dive into your reaction. Hey, is Tommy coming back here? All right, Tommy's coming back. Oh, yeah, we got a meeting today. Tommy's coming back here. He's going to hop on. We're going to have Derek Van Diest, who was at that press conference as well. Tommy was at the press conference as well. I thought Tommy asked an interesting question once they moved towards the hockey stuff on a couple of things. I mean, first, he was the one who asked about whether he talked to the players on this. And then the other aspect of it and the other element of it would be the relationship between Jackson and Bowman moving forward as well. Your reaction to the inbox. We all have our opinions. Some of you, I'll share them. I'll share your opinions. That's what we do. There's a lot flying in here. Let me try to dive into the... Jim says on YouTube, have the Oilers given money to Sheldon's organization? It appears as though he's like a paid promoter during this incident. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case. I mean, in the world we live in now, I wouldn't technically be surprised by that. And if he uses that money for something great to continue to help victims, that would be great. I would hope that he's just here to support a cause that he believes in and a guy that he thinks can do better than he did before. But once again, your reaction to YouTube. If you're watching over on YouTube, you can hammer the thumbs up and sub to the channel. We would appreciate the support here at EST as well. Barry to the inbox at 780-218-9999. Guys, the Oilers are such a stupid organization. I've been a fan through thick and thin and never questioned my fandom. Today is the first time I've questioned if I should be a fan of this organization, and it sucks. Jocelyn is in and says it came out as greasy and too polished to have Kennedy there. Bronco Nick says Beach has given Bowman his blessing. That goes a long way with me. That's in from Bronco Nick today. 100 of you, 100% in a room of 10 people. One is a very bad person. 9 are good people. If the 9 don't call out and disown the bad, it's a room of 10 bad people. Oh, it's an interesting way to look at it as well. Dusty, don't dismiss the older folks like myself that can speak with our wallet. Why create controversy for no reason? And you know what? You're right. You can't speak with your wallet. And if you don't open your wallet, here's the thing. Somebody else in this city will open theirs for the organization. That's, for the most part, that's like 99% how professional sports work. That's why none of these guys really, truly get held accountable like any regular folks. I mean, it doesn't necessarily happen. Stan Bowman had an organization that was trending in the wrong direction, got banned from the National Hockey League, and came back in a much better spot. Like, I know he had to work on some things in between, but this guy went from a job where I was reading articles today about his tenure in Chicago, and they're like, they got to figure out what to do with this guy because he's ruining the organization. His drafting was horrible. They're sitting there going, what are we going to do? Then he gets banned from the league and comes back and gets to be GM of the Edmonton Oilers. Like, this has worked out extremely well for Stan Bowman, no matter how you cut it. Stan Bowman has come out better now than he did before. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal twist. But I guess what I'm saying is responding to your answer. And look, your money's your money. You have to spend your money where you want. If you're not going to spend your money with the Oilers because of this, good for you. I'm just telling you that they're not going to feel it because somebody else will step up and spend that money. Maybe they don't. Maybe this is a situation that legitimately changes it. But you've seen it too long in too many sports to just go, well, this is this is how professional sports operates. It's not even just a hockey thing. I know many people always want to make it a hockey thing. I do think it's very hockey culturist that a guy is banned from the league and gets a job 2 weeks after he's no longer banned. I mean, in a better spot. It's quite something. 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat as well. Steven says, I will not wear a jersey or watch a game or spend a cent on the Oilers while this man is in the organization. I am absolutely done with the Oilers until they do the right thing. And good for you. If that's what you want to do, good for you, man. Honestly. Sean says, if Bowman was hired as a special advisor to a different GM, I still wouldn't like it, but it'd be better than opening the doors with arms wide open and putting him back in a GM role. I mean, that's a very good point, too. He now is overseeing pretty much the entire organization. Bowman only reports to Jeff Jackson and maybe Paul Coffey, depending on where the heck Coffey is in this structure. But he only reports to Jeff Jackson and Daryl Cates, obviously. Maybe Stoff a little bit. But that's it. So you did hand a guy quite a bit of power that last time he had some didn't necessarily end well. So there could have been a work back in process, maybe. This is an all-time second chance. Like an all-time second chance. This one is in. It says, Beach is working with Bowman. That should say it all. A lot of good coming from this brutal, horrible situation in Chicago. And it's a really fascinating look at not just this, but like, if you're partially responsible for something that's horrible, and then you still always would have allowed that, do you get credit for flipping on the other side of it now and wanting to be very proactive? And that's a life conversation. You know, like we're sitting here having a hockey conversation about it. I just still circle back around to, they must think he's the most brilliant general manager of all time to decide to take the obvious backlash that they are getting online today. I mean, they must love him. Like, they must think that this is the final piece to the Stanley Cup puzzle. And I mean, I don't think if they win the cup next year, he'll get much of any credit really for it. The job's pretty much done. Like Gager said, this is like handing it off to a 5-year-old at a professional game and everybody gets out of the way and they just sort of carry the ball along the line. Like, Jeff Jackson will have the final say on the Draisaitl contract whenever that gets done. And then there'll be the trade deadline next year where Bowman and Jackson will work together to acquire a right shot defenseman as the final piece. But 95% of what needs to be done here is already done here. Trev, did you just put that poll up? Did you put that poll up or did Zach put that poll up? Zach took a... It's interesting. We'll see where this one goes. We've got a poll over on YouTube right now. Do you think hiring Stan Bowman was the right move for the Oilers? Cast a vote in there. Let's see what people decide to dive in there. AJ in Montreal says, we can't hold our noses too high against second chances. More often than not, lessons are learned. Yeah. I mean, where would Mac T be without a second? There's people who have learned from their mistakes along the way. 100%. 100%. Like if you're in that spot, of course you would want a second chance and you do everything that you possibly could to get a second chance. But he got a golden second chance. This is not, hey, go be an assistant GM for somewhere for 5 years. Show that you can manage people in a proper manner. And then, I mean, he got handed the keys to an absolute Rolls Royce here right now. This is an interesting one. Man, Dave in Section T, like, I don't, look, the parent in me with young kids, I hate this move. I'll just say it. I'm trying to bobble this from a couple of different spots. The hockey analyst in me is trying to see where the Oilers are coming from it. The hockey, like the parent in me is sitting there going, I already worry about it. Like, if my kids were to advance somewhere, would I have to trust them with another adult somewhere along the way? And I'll be honest with you, might be tough to do. It might be tough to do somewhere along the way. So the parent in me is like, this is a joke. There were multiple kids, essentially, who were impacted by just being like, not right now. Not right now. Maybe we'll worry about this later. It's that part I don't like about it. But this is interesting. Dave in Section T with a very interesting text here. Hopefully you're enjoying this conversation. It's kind of what I'm having with myself right now. But you can hit us up in YouTube. We'll hit us up in the inbox, and I'll get to as many of your thoughts as I can. If you have problems with this Bowman second chance, if you have no problems with this Bowman second chance, try substituting GM with principal and OEG with your kid's school. And that's, but so the school district hires back a principal who knew that somebody was assaulting a child, and they go, yeah, but he's been for the last 3 years, he's been training on everything, and he's good to go. And these people who've been through similar horrible situations are saying that they believe in him moving forward. I'm still probably not putting my kid back in that school. I'm probably still not going there. Dave T, that's the first time I've seen it kind of referenced like that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Andrew is in and says, Jeff Jackson, I don't want to interview GMs during the playoffs because it's a distraction for the players. Also, Jeff Jackson, let me hire the most controversial GM I can, and the players will have to answer questions about it. Ed, you know what? In most markets, it would probably be the case. But in this market, the next time Connor McDavid's in front of a microphone, he's now going to have to talk about this. And I don't know why this guy was necessary. Outside of the fact that they think he is a hockey genius. And I know for some of you, that's not going to handle the justification. I just don't know why when the entire, even markets that hate the Oilers were sitting there this year going, man, what an offseason. What a job. It's weird to put your company in this spotlight when it wasn't really necessary. I think that's a fair take. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. Rusty M80 says, I will always want to see the Oilers win another cup in my lifetime, but this is wrong. No financial support from me as long as he's there. You are right. Lots of people with different values, though. And yeah, there's different ways. There's different ways to look at this. 100%. Chemo Man says, I'm a father, and I absolutely hate this move. Penner's Pancake says, imagine if Leon does not resign because of this. It won't happen, but just think of the pitchforks downtown if that was the case. There's no way. They could not have done anything this offseason to jeopardize the future of Leon Draisaitl with this organization. None. I would be stunned if Leon's agent at least didn't get the heads up on this. Jackson was an agent. Jackson knows exactly what agents want to know. You think that they were going to risk the possibility of saying, we're going with Bowman, and then they call Leon and go, hey, guess what? We got Stan Bowman as GM. And then Leon goes, don't necessarily like that direction for the organization. I'm out. You think they were going to leave that hanging in the balance? If they did, they're, for lack of a better term, it's kind of idiotic. They're smarter than that from that side of things. So, all right, 780-218-9999. All right, this is a good one. Mark from Estevan. Like we said, we're going to try to get to as many different opinions as we can here on the Oil Stream today. I hope that we were able to provide you with a good, honest, fair sort of assessment of this entire thing here on EST today. Van Diest is going to join us around 12:45. Tommy Gazzola is on his way back. He'll join me here in the Oil Stream as well. Hey, Dusty, and thank you for all the texts. If you have not texted us before, the number is 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. Hey, Dusty, I'm disappointed in the hire and feel it was unnecessary as there were other candidates that likely could do the job as well without any of the controversy. Keith Gretzky, in brackets. However, Bowman said almost all the right things at the presser, except for his comment about the other victim. With that being said, I think there are a lot of emotions from fans right now, but I think in the end, 99.9% of fans will return and continue to cheer on their favorite players on the ice. That's Mark from Estevan today. This one is in from Jenna Tills, who's usually over on the YouTube chat. Says, hey, folks, I took a big mental health hit after Game 7. Have not paid an ounce of attention to sports all since I watched Ekholm slam his stick on the ice. When I see this Bowman news on a muted TV at work, I died a bit inside. The team I love hates me, and I hate them. I won't be watching them anymore and will advise my kids to ignore them as well. This is beyond despicable. Good luck, EST. I'll be working on getting back into the Elks and your coverage of them. Sorry you guys are stuck with the Oilers. Yours truly, a broken Jenna Tills. First text ever. Usually they're just straight up YouTube chat. Guys, I'm feeling a little bit better after the press conference, but I'm not fully convinced yet. The fact that Kyle Beach has been talking and working with Stan is a nice sign, but I've always been of belief that people don't change unless they go through some sort of life-changing event like a near-death experience. I hope they can prove me wrong and win us over. Jackson's moves so far have been perfect, so hopefully he keeps the streak going with this hire. That's in from Danny T. This one is in from Jen. As a trauma survivor and a parent, I'm triggered by this hire. I have been a fan of this team for a very long time. We have given second chances to many before. This is not right and a step in the wrong direction. I can't support this. I am heartbroken to lose all respect for the team and the love that I had to be a fan. Wow. That's that one hits. Jen, thank you very much for texting in. We appreciate that. Tell your friends about EST. This one is in from RCN. The Oilers are and always have been a tone-deaf organization, and I wouldn't put it past them completely oblivious to what the reaction would be. No, man, there's no way they could have expected a different reaction. Why do you think they rolled Sheldon Kennedy into this thing? Why do you think they had Stoff toss a softball up for Bowman to start about, have you contacted Kyle Beach? Since this is they know what they're doing. Shipton over there, who runs all this stuff, he's a smart man. They know what they're doing. There's no chance this organization was like, great move. There will be no backlash. They're not idiots. Of course they know. I just think they tried to do their best to smooth things over because they obviously think Bowman's a hockey genius. And then go from there. I mean, after all, in the 2015 draft, they did get Graham Knott in the second round. Some of his drafts absolutely sucked. We'll probably spend more of the time on that. Now, the Oilers already have a lot of great staff in place, which is why I thought they might just hire somebody from within. But like in the 2017 draft, they took Yoka Haru in the first round, and nobody else from that draft basically became an NHLer. The 2018 draft, Boquist and Kurashev. Their other first-round pick was playing in the Spengler a couple years ago. 2019, they got Kirby Dach and nobody else who played in the National Hockey League. 2020, they got Lucas Reichel and a bunch of guys I've never heard of. The 2021 draft, was he gone by then? Or was it after 2020? Anyway, 2021's a little early, but they've got one guy who's played 2 games. It doesn't necessarily come with like a brilliant track record that you would put your organization sort of in the spot for right now, but this text is in. It says, no lock shop today, or is it just swap times with the oil stream? DB, we're going 2-hour oil stream today. Sorry, man. Lock shop will return tomorrow. Our golf picks will be posted on social media, so you can go find those over there. I do really love people who are like, hey, where's the lock shop? I love that. Thank you very much for the lock shop support. I think that's great.
Quick update on the poll that we have in the Nasty Chats. It's got 307 votes so far, Dusty.
Okay.
And it is, do you think hiring Stan Bowman was the right move for the Oilers? 18%, 17% say yes, 83% say no.
So 83%. That's pretty overwhelming in this market for anything Oilers related. Like, even some of the worst moves they've made, you still get a 50-50 out of it. 83%. Larry says the press conference was a joke, totally geared by the media, by management, by everybody, and the Oilers should be ashamed for this hire. A lot of respect lost, I think, is what he was going for. CB says Bowman made a mistake by not providing a safe environment for his club, but if he has repaid his debt to society, Stan Bowman didn't perpetrate the assault, but ignored it and was... this guy was surprised that he ended up being hired. Dusty, why are you tossing stuff? I didn't toss stuff under the bus. I just said it was clear, like, you can't think that they were going to be caught off guard by this. They rolled in Sheldon Kennedy, and they threw it to Staff for the first question, and I guarantee Bowman knew that question was coming. That's how it works. I've been on the other side of this stuff with different organizations, not in a spot like this, but when you have somebody on the payroll, I mean, things are laid out. That's the exact purpose he serves. He knows it. We all know it. He's great at it. But come on, let's be honest. Can't say otherwise. It was a well worded question from Staff too, but they knew exactly where they were going on that one. And that's what you do in that situation. That's how organizations handle this. If I was in their shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. Okay, this guy goes to our guy, and he's going to ask you this question. Let's start this thing on a good foot. That's how it works. All organizations in professional sports do it. The people who are paid to organize that type of stuff. It's exactly how it should have been from the organizational perspective. They handled it really well on that side. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. Surveyor Brett suggests everybody flies their car flags upside down. Probably not going to happen. All right, here's another one. This is a nice reaction here as well. I was very disappointed when I heard the news of Bowman. I appreciate what he said in the presser about the work that he's done and like working with Beach. I'm still very disappointed, but I know that I will still watch the Oilers. I hope we see him and the Oil take more of a lead in the community to work against sexual abuse and supporting victims. I still don't think was the right hiring. Could have been someone else. All right, so there you go. That's an interesting way to look at it. Here's another one. This one in from John today. Hey, Dusty, I support this decision. I trust Jeff Jackson, and I think this is the right move. They appear to have a good relationship, and it's important that they're on the same page. If no other candidates gave him that feeling or agreed on the direction of the club, philosophy, etc., why would Jeff hire them? People are emotional, and I can't help but slightly be entertained by the hysterics. We all know these people will continue to watch and cheer. People make mistakes. We are human. I believe in second chances, and I love a story of redemption and growth. That one in from John today. This one is in and says, if you do not like the questions at the press conference, fire your representative who was asking the questions at the press conference. He had the opportunity. What are you talking about? I didn't say, I said we were talking about Staff getting the first question and them probably knowing exactly where they were going. That's all we said. I thought Tommy asked a couple of good questions down there. He was there. Edmonton Sports Talk was represented. And I thought Tommy asked a good question about if they went to the players with any of this. And they did not. That's what they told us. This one is in from Kev. Do any of us actually know Bowman? Were any of us actually in the situation? We weren't a part of it. We get information from news, which is pretty one-sided. Everyone deserves a second chance in life, and all of those triggered grow up and stop being a victim. Everyone has gone through something traumatic at one point. That's in from Kev. Kev, I would say that there's different levels to trauma, I would think, and there's different responsibilities from people who are held and should have dealt with the situation better. So I don't think you can just relate every one of those situations the same. Blake from Airdrie says, Dusty, do you think a guy like Bowman can get better and smarter about drafting and trades a second go-around in this job? Or are we going to bleed value in those aspects for the rest of his contract? I mean, let's figure that out when we get there. They've got other people in the organization who I think are very good at their jobs. And look at what they did without him. I mean, they put together an absolutely tremendous four-week stretch without him. This organization is going to be fine, whether they have him or not, really. Hey, Dusty, I found Bowman fumbling over the John Doe 2 question concerning. The fact that he wasn't sure how to answer it goes to show that he hasn't made the effort, which is definitely disappointing. A black mark on a great offseason. Defending this team's morals is getting old, but I can't bring myself to leave my first love. They have me and hundreds of thousands of others, unwavering loyalty, and it sucks they know they can get away with it. Adam, P.S. Had my first 6 o'clocker lager yesterday, and it will not be my last. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Like the support. J. Siggy Rockerson says, at least my Twitter feed is negative Oilers comments and not American politics. Nature is healing. That's a good one as well. Sebastian texts in for the first time. Sebastian, thank you very much for being here. Man, I really thought it was either Mark Hunter or Brad Holland. I feel a bit of an upset stomach hearing about Bowman's hire. Let's see how this unravels for the team. Guys, it's all just so frustrating, disappointed, wrong, pick a word. Once again, sports reminds us that it simply doesn't love and respect us the way that we love and respect sports. That's a pretty cool, I mean, you're probably right. Probably right. Jay in the Park says, you guys honestly nailed it on the head with all the positives this offseason. Just why this guy? Why now? Literally any other candidate would have assimilated fine. This is Kate's written all over it. He's already questionable at best. You heard Jeff Jackson say that decided to, the one guy he has to answer to, obviously, is Daryl Cates, and Cates gave him his blessing on this one. Big Uke is in it, says, my mind is in a pretzel right now. How can they be so blinded to outrage that this was coming from, that was coming from this? Yeah, they weren't. There's no way the Oilers didn't know that this was going to be, They knew what the reaction was going to be. They tried to take some steps. Bowman obviously has worked on a lot of things. I mean, the way he laid it out. I mean, I don't. It sounded like he seemed pretty committed to, for lack of a better term. Well, no, I was going to swear. I don't know. For not screwing up again. For not doing what he should have done last time. Hopefully this doesn't even come up again. Here in Edmonton, you don't even want to think of that, but sometimes with the professional sports culture, you never know. And I will just say this, there's a lot of weirdos out there in the world. There just is. There's a lot of strange people that you can't trust. I'm not saying that with this guy. I'm just saying you never know. There's a lot of messed up things happening out there in the world. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Lots of chats that I'll try to sort through. Tommy Gazola should be working his way back to the office here as well. We'll get his thoughts on the vibe down there when he pops in. Van Diest is going to join us at 12:45 today as well. Dan says, how many of you actually know all the facts? You're going to be upset. You better know why. That's in from Dan. I mean, a lot of the facts are out there in various reports. I mean, what are you going to do? Can you go ask Bowman today? Can you detail everything that happened in that situation? It's not going to happen. There's a lot of stories and reports out there on this one. So, Chad is in. And, Chat probably has a take here that a lot of people would probably agree with. Also, if you're watching right now, just because it's Oilers coverage, I highly suggest you check out Edmonton Sports Talk when we're not talking Oilers. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We're passionate about other sports as well. Hopefully you are too. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, sub to the channel, hammer the thumbs up for us. And of course, you can text us anytime at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. This one from Chad says, I feel like they handled the conference fine, but I still don't get why they had to have this guy, which is...
That's the question, Dusty.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's the guy. I don't know what they saw in him. Obviously, he's got significant baggage.
Well, there's obviously a pretty strong relationship between him and Jeff Jackson.
And they talked about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm curious as what they're talking about now, because that's all the hockey world. It's the buzz right now, and I wonder if they knew it was going to be bad, the feedback. I don't know if they knew it was going to be this bad, because we're talking about people, they're done with this team. We have people texting in saying, I'm done.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of that.
This is the first time I can say, and people, might not like it, but it's true. This is kind of deterring me away. I will say it's nice that I was going to hold a lot of my thoughts back until the press conference, and hearing him that he has reached out to Kyle Beach, and they do have somewhat of a relationship right now. But he said he's I've learned a lot, and the thing is, it's you were a grown man when all of this, you shouldn't have to, this is it's not like he's 20, right? Or is still growing up. He was a grown man when all this was happening. So it's crazy. I'm surprised by the people, but I'm with them in a sense, Dusty. I really am. It's tough. It's tough to defend what's going on today. Garbage move. A lot of people are not liking it, and I see why. I really do.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Garrett from Victoria texts in and says, tough pill to swallow for a fan base and an organization that was enjoying an incredible season and off-season. Can't begin to understand this move even in a pure hockey sense. Bowman doesn't have a record to inspire any confidence. Covering up sexual assault should mean you're done working in a senior hockey position, in my opinion, or at least if you come back, it's in a smaller role and you earn the job back. Just a puzzling decision from this organization. That comes from Garrett in Victoria. Kurt says, for those saying we don't know the facts, just listen to Bowman. He knows he was very wrong. He's not trying to claim he was innocent. They asked if the players were consulted, meaning McDavid and Draisaitl. They timed it so McDavid won't have a chance to say anything for a month. He's getting married this weekend, assuming he'll be on a honeymoon, so he won't be able to put his 2 cents in for a month. I mean, yeah, I'll be interested. I'm in no rush to hear what those guys have to say about it, but I'll be interested when there's an availability with these guys, probably in September at some point. And you knew that when you made this hire, Connor McDavid would have to speak on it, and Leon Draisaitl will have to speak on it, and Zach Hyman will have to speak on it, and you put them in that spot. They'll probably have to talk about it once, and then they'll probably be able to focus on the season after that. Just knowing how it usually works, there'll be that one availability where the media will be, this is your window to talk about it. They'll talk about it, and then they'll move on with training camp. That's how it's going to work. All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Van Diesel join us. I don't necessarily want to start diving into the X's and O's and what we think Bowman will do with the roster. The roster's locked in. There's really not many tweaks to have. I mean, you either get a top 4 right shot D-man now, which you can't really afford, or you just do it at the deadline. Outside of that, this thing's kind of locked and loaded, ready to go. Right, Jeff? he really doesn't have anything to do outside of the Draisaitl contract, which will probably be conducted at a CEO level with Jackson anyway.
Draisaitl, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, just signing. The roster is set. You're not going to bring anyone in, really. I don't. You have to make it cap compliant, obviously. But I mean, yeah, like it's there's nothing. I don't know what he could possibly do going forward here, aside from signing. Obviously, that's the big one, and he talked about it. That was like the biggest thing on his list is wanting to get Leon Draisaitl back, and that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, there's nothing to do, Dusty.
All right, lots of good messages over on YouTube. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube today and you wouldn't mind supporting Edmonton Sports Talk, just hammer the thumbs up over there and give us a sub to the channel almost to that 95.50 mark. So let's hit that bad boy as we take our push up to 10,000 here. Jeffrey Taylor's in and says, people were done with this team when they did not replace Skinner, when they brought in Perry, when they did not strengthen the blue line. How many times do we need to cry wolf? Right? Everybody's like, I'm done with this team. People quit on the team after like any time they were trailing in a series. They were done. Now this is a different conversation. But I understand what you're saying. We said it multiple times. The Oilers can do things like this because they're the Oilers. I mean, you might not like it. Personally, I don't think it's how things should really operate in life. But that's just the truth. Gord says, I'm not defending the Oilers from a silly move and a PR nightmare, but Bowman isn't the demon he's been made out to be on here. Donovan says, shouldn't have been reinstated in the first place. League should have taken a stand. I don't fully blame the team for trying to use the resources available to them. Squeaky Wheel says, Bowman was endorsed by Sheldon Kennedy and Beach, asked to work with Bowman afterwards. If it's okay for them, why not for everyone else? Mark says Bowman should be an advisor or involved with player development, even hand out Bobby Nick's burgers at Rogers, but he shouldn't get to be the general manager right away. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 if you would like to chime in, or over on YouTube if you want. And your reaction continues to roll in. By this time in September, this conversation could continue all day, which is a lot of fun. Hey, Dusty, nothing like dismissing how the fans feel by Jackson. He basically said we'll get over it. The players will have to speak about it. If the Oilers win the Cup, it'll be talked about. I get it if he was an outstanding GM, but he isn't. This makes little sense from a public perspective and a hockey perspective. I'm not a fan of Holland, but I'd rather we kept him. That one in from Al today. You would have thought the Oilers brass would have had some feelers out on social media department when rumors were floating around and seeing the reaction of this hire. Maybe they just don't give a rat's ass once season tickets are renewed and really don't care what the fan base thinks or feels. It's hard to figure out. Like I said, of course, like the Oilers are a very well-staffed organization. Of course they would have seen some of the reaction pre-hire. Like any time it was brought up that the Oilers would hire this guy, you see the same reaction that you look today on their social media account. They feel, after doing their due diligence, that he's taken steps in the right direction. The National Hockey League obviously feels that way because they reinstated him. And they're just going to deal with the backlash. Because in the end, they're probably insulated because they're the Oilers. I know for many of you, you're like, well, that's not how it should work, but that's how it works. Like, in this city, that's how it works. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's how it works. Hey, guys, I think I'm probably expressing the same concern most other people have. What is the rationale from a hockey perspective of hiring Stan Bowman? Never mind the fact that he has this black mark on his history and his questionable answer to the questions of what he's learned from his past mistakes. Mistakes that most of us would see in never needing to be made if you're acting the capacity of a decent human being. At the end of the day, I think the Edmonton Oilers organization has a lot to answer for in terms of why Stan Bowman. I can see a lot more fallout on this one from fans and the public at large. Love the show, DK. Yeah, but once again, like the part where you say at the end of the day, I think the Edmonton Oilers organization has a lot to answer to. But what do they have? Like they've done their press conference today. When will they have to answer from this again? Really? I mean, they've already done it. I would assume if I was the Oilers right now, I would roll out one or both of them on Stoff's show tonight and have what else needs to be said, if anything else needs to be said. And that's probably all you would do from an organizational perspective. This one is in. It says, scandal aside, as Matthew Barnaby put it, I really cannot see Bowman making any good decisions with the team since he was known for making questionable decisions with the Blackhawks. Even if he didn't have the baggage of the Kyle Beach situation, I'd still feel he would have been a bad choice for GM. That's a text that somebody sent in for the first time ever. So thank you very much for finding our inbox at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Ron Nelson is in. Says, by the way, Bowman set the market by signing Seth Jones to his $9 million contract in July of 2021. Then the Oilers signed Nurse. Oh, my God. Are we blaming Bowman for the Nurse contract? Is that what just happened? I mean, kind of. If he was Jones the first one or was Werenski the first one? Okay, so it was Jones. So Bowman gave Jones the $9 million. And then Werenski and Nurse basically took the same deal. Tough one.
That's a head scratcher right there.
Tough one. Guys, let's take all the fans that are leaving and auction off all of their Oilers swags and jersey, etc., and donate to charity from Edmonton Sports Talk. That's in from Fireman Trev today. Here's another first-time texter. Thank you very much for being here. Not a great look for the Oilers, but this is probably the one person you could hire that will be more aware of the worst things that can happen in hockey and make sure they don't happen here. Guaranteed no other GM in the NHL has taken the courses and actions that he has had to over the last 2 years. That's in from Kerry with a Keri. I think that's probably a woman. Might be a guy whose name is spelled Keri. Either way, it doesn't matter. Thank you very much for the text message today. 780-218-9999 over in the nasty chat as well. I apologize. I'm trying to get to as many as I can. They're obviously flying in rather quickly here. And where's Tommy at? How close is Tommy to being back here? I want to dive into this. Let me text him. He's got to be back right away.
Did say on his way 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago.
So he should be.
Oh, yeah, he should be here right away then. It doesn't take... I mean, he should be walking through that door in 10.
He's probably just parked.
9, 8.
Can you imagine?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not him. It's not him. Damn. That would have been something.
I heard something. I was confused.
Can you imagine that if that actually...
Oh, my gosh.
No.
No way.
No. Oh, my God.
Okay, that's weird.
Oh, my God.
I thought I heard something.
Nuts. I was just like, you said you were coming 20 minutes ago. I said he should be walking through that door. I counted down from 10 to 1, and then like 2 seconds later, you walked in. Holy smokes. Can you believe that? Well, strange things are afoot at the Edmonton Sports Talk offices. That's, man, what are the odds of that?
That's crazy. I thought I heard something. I was like,
man,
oh.
If I would have just started 2 seconds earlier, I would have absolutely nailed it. I mean, it's still pretty. I mean, that's still rather.
That was really good.
That's still rather remarkable. If I can't believe that just happened. That was crazy. Tommy has no clue how special that was. Like, I was counting down as you were walking up the stairs. Spency 5 cents. He says, Dusty Damas. Very much felt like that. Like it was just like this feeling, this vibe that I had, which is awesome. See, Sobkirk says, Dusty, all good countdowns start at 13. See, if I would have started at 13, then we would have been down there. We're gonna have to go to. You got the wide shot there. Tommy Gazzola, straight from the availability, straight from the press conference down there representing Edmonton Sports Talk. And we'll get into the. If you have any questions for Tommy, he just rolled in 780-218-9999. Van Diest is going to join us. Trev, you got Van Diest's email? Yeah, DVD is going to join us in about 30 minutes. We'll kind of wrap up the oil stream with that today. Mr. Gazzola, good to see you, buddy. You're looking great today. Looking great today.
Thanks.
How was it? First of all, how many people were down there?
Was
it
pretty busy,
pretty
but
packed?
a lot of them, A, had to leave Specs tournament, or B, did not leave Specs tournament.
Yeah, so it wasn't the full complement that you
No, it
usually
wasn't.
have there.
And there were a lot of Oilers staff there, I will say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So they filled it up as much as they could.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it was supposed to be a quiet summer day around the
Yeah,
office. I've been
yeah.
around the useless days, basically.
Yeah.
So
you're pretty much doing nothing if you're
Essentially.
Oilers staff around there, right? So, yeah, that's all right. So, tell me, buddy, like, what was the vibe like down there today? Like,
different. Very different. I don't know. Tense. I suppose you could use tense. Not negative. Certainly a lot of eye rolls and kind of odd, peculiar looks.
yeah.
Especially when I looked at a bunch of the staff. I just kind of looked at them, was like,
Here it
I got
is.
the
Like,
same, and they're just like, yeah,
yeah.
this is it. We got to deal with it. To their credit, for the shit sandwich they were dealt with today, I'm just going to say it, they handled it very well from an Oilers, like the staff side. I think, at a glance, listen, this is not good, this whole situation. That's my take. I'll get further into it.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
To the Oilers PR team's credit, from what they had to deal with, they handled it about as best as they could.
Yeah, I mean, that is not a situation that you want to deal with on a regular basis.
That is
for that crew,
high
right? Like,
stress.
yeah.
And you're answering a lot of questions that you can't or don't have the answers to, even if you want to. Or you're being told, don't say anything. I had people from other organizations today text when the news dropped, just say, idiots, terrible decision. It's been all over the map. So the vibe there was kind of tense, I guess.
Yeah.
They did it right in the middle of Specs tournament. Some guys came back from the tournament, left, and I think we're going to go back.
Did Spec make it there?
No.
It's his tourney. I mean,
How do you?
He can't come away. He can't leave his tourney.
Iwanyk talked about it on the
You
hangout.
think they scheduled it at that time just because? I'm not even going to criticize them for it because
Yeah.
if I was the Oilers media and I understand the relationship that they have with a lot of the media here, I probably would have done the exact same thing.
Spec's not their favorite guy.
Which yeah.
They know it's Spec's turn.
Yeah. Strategically placed.
I'm not saying anything else.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
It's a
smart
big
move
charity
on
tournament.
smart move on their part. Why this guy? Do you think? Knowing the backlash, they must love him. Like Jeff Jackson must think he is the end all and be all general manager because
I saw your tweet.
the reaction has been. I mean, what's the poll at? 79% people say it's no. If you all you need to do is go look at the Oilers post about it on Twitter. Like the replies are a steady diet of like, what the hell are you guys doing? Why are you the organization that not only gives him a second chance, but gives him a better job than the one he had in Chicago? Like he's in a better spot now than he was before. It's rather remarkable. So what is it about Bowman that you think made them hire him 14 days after he is reinstated by the National Hockey League?
Well, I think that this has been in the works for a long time.
Oh, before they announced
Before
that he
we
was
even started talking about Stan Bowman's name, I think that, and I've been led to believe by some providing information that he might have been Jeff Jackson's guy from day one when Jeff took the job.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that for sure. I've been told that some believe that that is the case.
Okay, well, here's one thing that would back that up being the truth. He hired him. Like, if you're going to be willing to put your organization under that spotlight, he damn well better be your number one guy, right? So that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Why him? Listen, watching Stan Bowman, being in that room today, hearing what he had to say, addressing what happened, his lack of action at the time, which ultimately led to him being.
That's the issue here. Like, that was his part of it was a lack of action. Yeah.
And I've been following the nasty chat all day. I was listening on my way in, nice and clearly, because it's so easy to listen in your vehicle.
It really is.
And it sounds way better than anything we had at 1260. People, I've seen this comment pop up a bunch. It's read all the facts. You don't know all the facts. And that's more so people kind of defending Stan Bowman. I've read everything. I read that damn report that they put out after the investigation. Some of the crap in there is disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It is absolutely disgusting. And thinking about it disgusts me right now. What happened was totally wrong. And the buck, when something like that happens, generally stops with the guys in charge.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
That's how it has to stop.
That's what happened. Like, that's why the NHL removed him from the National Hockey League. Credit to Stan Bowman. I'll go back to him in that room, listening to him.
Did he come across as genuine? It's tough watching.
Yes,
we were watching.
He did.
So
he came across as sincere and genuine, and he knew he was going to have this day if he was ever to be reinstated and hired in the National Hockey League. And talking to Sheldon Kennedy as well from the Respect Group, it sounds like...
Did you talk to him?
Yes, we did. I was in on Scrum. I got a question in. It sounds like he is genuinely sorry, understands his role in how everything transpired. I know that the pressure of winning a Stanley Cup and being in the middle of playoffs and something like that happening, at times were different in 2010. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not like it is now. Things have changed. So I think he sincerely is sorry for that happening on his watch and for how he mishandled it. It was wrong. And having said all that, I don't understand why he had to be the guy.
Yeah.
I'll give him all the credit in the world for working towards a second chance, working with Respect Group, working on initiatives with Sheldon Kennedy for the last couple of years. For Sheldon Kennedy to endorse Stan Bowman the way he did does mean something. Mm-hmm. And I also saw some text today, which I was very surprised by, who said, I don't know who Sheldon Kennedy is. Look him up. Okay, that's why that matters, especially in the game of hockey. If you don't, you're ignorant or you're just being a jackass.
Most people would know who Sheldon Kennedy is.
You should know who Sheldon Kennedy is and his story and the crap he went through. Okay? Really quickly. Graham James, where was it? Swift Current.
Swift Current, yeah.
Theo Fleury, and a number of other players, victims, who were sexually abused. For a long time. That Sheldon Kennedy was one of those people. So just Cole's Notes version for the a-holes that say stuff like, I don't know who Sheldon Kennedy is, I don't care what he has to say. Stupid comment. So obviously, listening to Sheldon Kennedy and Stan Bowman, I can appreciate him putting in the work that he has. And if Sheldon Kennedy is endorsing him, that does mean something. Now, I don't know why it needs to be the Oilers. And I don't know why it needs to be 2.5 weeks after he's reinstated into the NHL. That's the part I don't get. PR-wise, this team has stepped in it.
And not from the PR department. They're the ones.
They're
the ones who have to scoop and shovel now.
They've got their gloves and the little baggies.
Yeah.
And they have to pick this up.
Yeah.
And
the poop.
The poop.
Yeah.
So, like you said, maybe Jeff Jackson has so much belief in Stan Bowman.
He has
to help them put them over the top. But the optics, regardless of what Sheldon Kennedy says, what Stan Bowman says, Jeff Jackson says, are still going to be bad. And they are bad. And you talked about the poll. We've got almost, I think, close to 600 votes in this YouTube poll. And the number was at what? 21% say, yes, it's a good decision. for Oiler fans, that's significant because most times, even the dumbest hockey moves get 40, 50% encouragement and support and approval.
All right, 780-218-9999. It is the Oil Stream. We're coming out from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studio, and the Oil Stream is presented to you by our partners over at Boston Pizza. Not really a patio day today. Today feels more like a fettuccine Alfredo baked with cheese and meatballs day. All right, warm things up a little bit. Today. Keep the text messages flying in.
I want to get to this one by Kate Gill.
Okay, yep, go for it.
Tommy said this was in the works for a long time. This smells like an effing Kate's hire. It's not. Sorry, Carmen. It is not. This is not a Daryl Kate's hire.
This is not him telling Jeff Jackson, like, go get
I was
this
also
guy.
told Jeff Jackson had one guy. This was his one that they were giving to him that he could hire. Maybe that should have been foreshadowing that it was going to be controversial.
Ah.
So
like
Carmen,
no
this
matter
is not
what,
a Kate's hire.
There's no veto power. They're like, you get one guy.
You get your one.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So this is a Jeff Jackson decision right here. All right, there you go.
From what I was told.
All right, let's get to more of your text messages. 780-218-9999. And yes, TBZ, I did say Alfredo with meatballs. I go with the fettuccine Alfredo,
Delicious.
melted with cheese, 3 meatballs. Real nice. Real nice. Only at Boston Pizza. Guys, big fan of the show. This is another first text. Lots of first texts today. So thank you very much for being here. As we say, we talk about a lot of sports here at Edmonton Sports Talk. We hope you find it very entertaining. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, movie prop draft. Should be good. Yeah. Big fan of the show. I don't know how to get my opinion out without sounding like I'm brushing away the situation. I believe in second chances. I don't think you can limit someone's second chance. What happened and how it went down and the after effect was terrible. But if he went out there, worked with people, connected with victims, and bettered himself, then it should be okay. This would be like someone who just got out of jail for a crime and has decided to change for the better by taking steps, following probation outlines, and becoming a better person all around. Not only not to get a job or opportunity because of something that they did in the past, even if they took the necessary steps to ensure it doesn't happen again. As a pure hockey outlook, I hate the hire, though. That's in from Jay. Now, I would say the difference there is that, we're probably taking it way too far with these prisoner references and stuff. However, I will say guys don't roll out of jail and get a CEO job somewhere. you know what I mean? Like, he's come off of being banned from the league list and getting the juiciest GM job in the National Hockey League. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Jay. Hopefully you're okay sharing your feelings with us. I'm not going to rip your text apart. I just think there's a little bit of the comparison this isn't just like, oh, it's good. They've made him a scout somewhere to give him a chance to get back into the business. This is, here's the general manager of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It's different. Executive VP.
Hockey ops.
Yeah. Yeah, and 2 titles. So, I mean, I think that would be the different part of that. But thank you very much for your text. Please send in text again. Guys, can be genuinely sorry. That's great. I'm glad he's changed and a better human. But why the hell is he gifted a second opportunity in the NHL? It's a privilege, not a right, to be in the league. That's my biggest beef. That one comes in from Big Uke today. Louis is in and says, it's obvious that they don't give a rat's ass about the fans' opinions in any way, shape, or form. They believe that the bottom line will be unaffected, and I think they are correct.
Yep. And Iwanyk said it on the Hangout. As long as this team's winning, as long as people are buying beers, hot dogs, jerseys,
they just do what they'll do whatever they want, and that's the spot they're in. That's why they could make this hire, because I don't want this to come across the wrong way, because I don't want to hurt the feelings of Oilers fans, but they can make this hire because they don't really care what you say. I'm sorry. That's just the truth. They don't care what I say. They don't care what Tommy says. They don't care what you say. They don't care what Trev says. And that's because they don't have to, because the building will still be sold out. McDavid jerseys will still fly off shelves. And their bottom line will not be impacted by this decision. So if Jeff Jackson, who appears to be pretty close with Bowman, they talked about the great vibe that they have.
They had a bond since they were assistant
GMs.
GMs for
Like,
different organizations.
they talked about it. So
Yeah.
they don't care. I mean, they don't really deep down care. That's the truth, all right, Tommy? Like, it's...
Yeah.
I know some of you would be like, no, but you know it's the truth. Like, that's why. If they actually were like, oh no, our fans are going to be so fired up, maybe we shouldn't do this, then they wouldn't have done it. They knew people were going to be pissed off. They knew people were going to be fired up. They don't care. They don't have to. They put themselves in a phenomenal spot financially. They put themselves in a phenomenal spot in this city. They don't really need to care what you say.
They will point
It's got to be extremely frustrating for fans. It has to be.
They'll point to internal programs that they have. They will commit to charitable components. And they will say, we did it. We try to help be part of the solution going forward. And then at the end of the day, they hire a guy that was embroiled in one of the biggest hockey scandals in the last couple of decades.
Darren is in and says, the only way the Oilers will feel the outrage is from fans is through pressure by sponsors, which kind of goes back to the old name change for the other team in town. Yeah. Sponsor kind of driven thing. I just don't see sponsors love being a part of the Edmonton Oilers. Like, I would be very surprised if any sponsors are like, sorry, we're out. I don't see it. That's why they can feel comfortable making a decision that you're sitting here. And I think a lot of people are saying the right things. Like, he appears to have worked very hard to try to try to make up for what he didn't do.
Yes.
Right?
He did.
And you want to give somebody credit for that. It still pisses me off that you have to hear somebody say, I've learned a lot about what's right and what's wrong. And you should have just known back then that what the hell was going on in your organization was wrong. If you either glossed over it because you didn't care or you're too dumb to realize what was going on. Either way, that'll never be right. No matter what you've learned, what you've done, you effed up back then. Okay? Major mistake. Could have helped the situation. Instead, you did nothing about it. That's fine. He's done a lot with people who have been impacted by this.
Yes.
He's done everything he can
and he deserves credit
to try to make good on that. Yes. And good for him. But this city, it's totally fair for people to be, why Edmonton? Why did Edmonton have to give him their second highest position of power in the organization?
Well, I'd say third.
Because of coffee?
Yeah.
I know. I said that earlier. I was like, I don't necessarily know where coffee is, but
it does sound like he will be back behind the bench.
Okay. That's a whole nother show. Save it for Friday.
All right.
But I can see why fans would be like, well, but why my team? Why does it have to be our team? Like, I understand where you're coming from in there. Like, that's the whole big picture here. It's an interesting conversation, man.
It's not an easy conversation. It really isn't. Listen, man. I want the best for individuals, everybody, and I stand by it. I think Stan Bowman, listening to today, has done everything he possibly could to be better.
Yeah. The only situation he could have, to try to make it better, invent a time machine, go back and be like, hey, this is morally effed.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Yeah, we know the Stanley Cup is important, but do you see what's happening in our organization right now? Go back and do that. You can't do that.
Can't.
So he's tried to do everything else that he could.
And that's it.
But that doesn't mean he has to win you over. Like, he's tried to do everything he can. If that's still not good enough for you, I totally get it. I understand. That's fair.
I just don't. I think, and I'll use this term again, I think hiring him in this role, regardless of what you believe about his qualifications, was unnecessary.
And we said this morning, like, Eric did the list of other people who could have got the job. Number one on the list was nobody.
Yeah.
Like, we already sat here and said, look at the job that they've done. You don't necessarily need a general manager at all. And then you go out and hire the one guy that this conversation would happen about, no matter the market that he was hired in.
Correct.
Right? Like, it's, it comes down to Jeff Jackson obviously really loves Stan Bowman. That's it. End of story.
He discuss that.
Yeah,
Didn't
like-
say I love him.
No, but he talked very highly
glowingly
of him.
about him.
Very highly of him. If you missed the presser today, you can hop on the Hangout feed and you can check that out as well. We'll dive into it a little bit tomorrow on the Nielsen Show, obviously, as well. 780-218-9999. T-Man over in the Nasty Chat says, fans saying they will now turn their backs on the Oilers and McDavid and Draisaitl in their
don't
cup
believe
quest
that.
because of Bowman. Seems a little hasty in my opinion because we had Chiarelli, Steve Tambellini before for real misery. And it's all different situations there, I would
This
think.
is something else. Maddie and I joked about this. We went to the Elks press conference. That's different, obviously, but we've seen so many weird press conferences with this organization. The Mac T Kevin Lowe one was a doozy. Dallas Aikens almost getting into a fight with a media member. I remember that. There's been so many odd, weird, tough press conferences in the last 15 years with this organization.
There has
This one was different.
Well, it's a different situation, right?
And if you're going to point to Virtanen coming in for camp on a PTO, or Zach Cassian after all of his battles with substance abuse and addiction, or if you're going to point to Mac T and what happened with him in the 80s and Glenn Sather giving him a second chance, or if you're going to point to Corey Perry or Evander Kane, this one is different. This one's different.
Yeah.
Chaylin Sulsky, I believe, from CTV asked
She
about.
asked that question. Yeah.
She asked
I love
about-
when news reporters roll in.
There's a few, and they need
It's
to
on
get
at
in there
that
because
point,
that's
yeah.
their. This is news. This is
is
not
their-
just
this is their-
sport. This is news.
This is the headline news story tonight on the 6 o'clock.
Correct.
If you still watch TV.
Because what happened after Brett Aldrich they moved on from him in Chicago is there were more victims,
Yeah.
minors.
Yeah, that guy's
That's effed up.
That guy's a piece of shit.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I mean,
that's effed up.
yeah.
That's why it's different. Like people will be like, "Well, Evander Kane in Buffalo, that was handled. Virtanen, that was handled through the courts,
Yeah.
right? That's all been handled through courts. This has also been handled, and it was more explosive, more effed up, and it had further ramifications on minors because that guy was able to go and do that.
They
stuff.
enabled him to continue. I mean, if you pump the brakes on
That's
it,
why
that
it's
guy
different.
doesn't get another job anywhere.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would think that hopefully the guys who've been involved in this, and this is an
It is
interesting-
different, Taves to Kane. It is absolutely different. I'm not saying it's not worse or those other things or those actions that happened or whatever happened are lesser. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is different, and here's why. So Taves to Kane, it is different, and I just outlined it why. So your argument sucks. Go away.
Trevor Nairdry says, guys, one thing people will never know was Bowman's motivation behind him taking all of these steps to make it so he could get back to the NHL? Or was he doing it because he just wanted another job or because he actually felt like it was wrong and he let it slide when he knew what was happening so it doesn't look promising? Yeah, you'll never know that. You'll never know that. But I would hope that these guys who knew what was going on and didn't take the proper steps, I would hope that they feel really bad about this for a long time. I mean, you try to get your career back on track, and best of luck to him in doing that as an individual. But I don't know. It's professional sports culture in general. Like, how many times a year does something happen with an athlete or somebody and we're like, well, they're never going to play again. And then they end up playing again.
Yeah.
Or they end up getting another job somewhere. For those of you asking, like, do you think the backlash or what happened, like, with Babcock? Because remember, somebody's like, oh, they get Babcock, and he never ended up even coaching.
Right.
Because, that's not going to be the case here. I mean, this is the guy. This is Jeff Jackson's one kind of hire. He's here. He's here for quite a while, I would think, unless something changes.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Norman at Combine says, so the conversation at the Nasty Bash after a ton of booze should be interesting. I'll tell you this right now. I'm not talking about this shit at the Nasty Bash. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it at the Nasty Bash. That's the time for us to get together and have a good time. Sorry for swearing again. If any kids are listening, shouldn't do that. But yeah, I'm definitely not talking about this on Friday night where we're all trying to have a good time and celebrating a major announcement for Edmonton Sports Talk. So no chance.
I don't know, Dusty. This just feels different. This one's different. This is one something I've never really dealt with, covered.
All right, let's see here. Guys, what is Stan Bowman's role? Is we have a head coach. We have most of our signings done. Is he bringing in his own scouts and people to just fill a seat beyond Draisaitl being resigned? It's a head scratcher. Like, there's really not much else to do.
I asked both of them about that at the very end of the press conference.
Who handles that, or how's that going to work? That was a good question.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And they were good about it. Jeff Jackson indicated and said that Stan Bowman will handle the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Stan Bowman will be a part of the negotiations. Jeff Jackson didn't want to meddle too much, but he will.
He gets the Draisaitl contract done. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I asked about Leon and Connor and Evan Bouchard, and he's like, that'll be Stan, but I will be in there, and it's going to be Jackson.
You think he did this without checking with Connor?
I also asked him about that.
Yeah, that was your question
and
too.
He said
he did say, I just have a hard time believing with how important the future of the organization is with contracts looming that you wouldn't have at least been like, hey, this is what we're going with.
I think that is exactly, and I feel like it might have happened a while ago. Just so you know, we're looking at doing this.
Yeah.
This is my plan.
I mean, if you're Connor or Leon, you want to hear that. Like you have to be in the loop. Yeah. Like you can't be blindsided by this stuff. So I would think that there's probably some sort of. I know he said that they're involved in a lot of different things, and they had asked a lot about day-to-day stuff, but this wasn't one of them. But I don't know. I think if you're running an organization, you've got if you're running an organization, any organization, and you're about to make a move that's going to get a little backlash for said organization, would you not go to a couple of your top dogs and just be like, hey? Just a heads up, there's a little bit of a firestorm maybe coming
down the pike.
So I think that's probably how it ends up working. 780-218-9999. All right, let's get to a few more here. TBZ says everyone needs to relax. Bowman made a few charters at a fee place. He will put his charter in here. And oh baby, what are you talking about?
What's that mean?
Charter, is that an autocorrect?
Perhaps.
Is that an autocorrect? I am, tomorrow and the next day, I will be interested to dive into his record just as a general manager.
Sure.
Outside of all this other stuff. Because I was reading, the tail end in Chicago before he resigned and got banned from the National Hockey League. The tail end in Chicago was not a good time.
No.
There was, go read some articles. There are people being like, they have to get rid of this guy because the franchise is headed where it is now, right? It's, so... Delivered some cups. The core was already delivered before he officially took over as general manager.
Yeah.
Talon did a lot of that work.
Sure, but Bowman was with the org. People forget too. He was a director of player development.
But yeah,
I was
looking
GM.
that up earlier today. Let's see here. Bowman joined the Hawks in 2001 as a special assistant to the general manager for 4 seasons, and for the next 2 years, he would serve as director of hockey ops. Afterwards, Bowman was promoted to assistant general manager of hockey operations. So he was within the organization when they drafted Keith and Seabrook and stuff. It wouldn't have been his call. He wasn't the director of amateur scouting. He wasn't the general manager, but he would have been in the organization at that time.
The charter thing, I think TBZ is alluding to. I think it was in the letter that Sheldon Kennedy.
What he's been working with.
They implemented with 3 WHL teams: Red Deer, Edmonton, Calgary, and then it went league wide in 2024.
Okay, yeah, that charter. I was trying to figure out what charter you were talking about. Yeah. I understand what you're saying here. I've got that one letter right up in front of me right now. Sparky or Spark YG or Sparky G says no one should be given this guy coverage. In my opinion of JJ has changed very much today? And that's an interesting one. I mean, we've been talking so much about Bowman. I mean, prior to this morning, Jeff Jackson could go down and walk on the river, and people would be like, of course. Of course he's walking on that water.
Surprise.
Do not see what's done. He brought in both Skinner and Arvidsson. Of course. This is the first time that anybody's questioned Jeff Jackson about anything. And it'll be interesting to see what the reaction continues to be like moving forward, or how this changes what was essentially, especially in this market, a godly-like opinion of his work so far.
Jeff is a smart man. I'm pretty sure he anticipated this and knew that this would be part of hiring Stan Bowman, reintroducing him into the NHL. I think Jeff was fully aware that this backlash, stain on his record, whatever you want to describe it as, would happen. And the fact that he's willing to stand by this decision it means he has, like you said, a lot of faith in Stan Bowman being the right guy to be his right-hand man.
We'll be joined by Van Diest here momentarily. Of course, works for NHL.com. This text is in from Jodes in Bonnyville. It says, hey, Dusty, tough day for many of us who are sexual assault survivors. This may open up a lot of wounds. I know it has for me, but at least there were some consequences for Quenneville and Bowman, etc. Many out there are suffering in silence because the abuser got away with it, and there was nothing done. I mean, that's an overall bigger issue in society right now.
Fair point.
I hate the fact I've never had to deal with any of that. I hate the fact that people have, and it sucks. So I don't know what else to say outside of hang in there and hopefully talk to somebody at some point. All right, let's bring in Derek Van Diest, who was down there with Tom Gazola at the availability today. DVD, you've covered a lot of interesting pressers in this city over the last 15 to 20 years. What was your vibe down there today, man?
Well, it was an interesting vibe, and I think they were kind of prepared for the questions. There was going to be a lot of questions about Stan Bowman in Chicago and his silence with the Kyle Beach situation, and I think they were prepared for those questions. But I think the one thing that did surprise a lot of people was Sheldon Kennedy was there. Yeah. Sheldon Kennedy was in the room. Sheldon Kennedy was there. He fielded questions, and I think the support of a guy like Sheldon Kennedy, to have Sheldon Kennedy come up and say, listen, this guy has done a lot of work. He has changed. He came out. He reached out to me. He wanted to work with our group. And he's done the work. He's done the process. I think that was a huge endorsement for Stan Bowman, because you can't get a bigger advocate than Sheldon Kennedy. What he went through, what he's done the past 20 years, working with survivors, working with people that have been through a situation like this. And I think that, to me, that was the big thing that came out of this, is that there's a lot of people that, you're right, like you're getting those messages. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are upset about this, and Sheldon Kennedy is one of those people. And it's a high profile person coming out and saying, no, he's got my full support. I endorse this hiring. That's why I'm here. And I think that was a big thing. I think that's something that you're looking at. They're not running away from the past. They're saying, I want to be better. I want to learn. I didn't handle the situation well. How would I handle it differently if it came across this right now? So to me, that was the biggest takeaway. And even just talking to Sheldon after the press conference, and how he was so supportive of Stan Bowman. And Stan Bowman said he came to work with me not knowing if he'd ever work in the NHL again. It's not that he came. This wasn't something that you do like a rehab thing and then you can get back in the league. He didn't know if he was ever going to get back in the league. And Sheldon Kennedy said he was looking at this as maybe a possible career change for him, working with these victims, working with these survivors. And so to me, that was the biggest takeaway I had from this press conference, is that he was there to support him. And it sounds like they did do the due diligence, and it sounds like they're trying to mend those fences with Kyle Beach. And I think that's the one thing too, is that because of Sheldon Kennedy, he was able to reach out to Kyle Beach, and it sounds like they do have some sort of relationship now where he's able to apologize for not being more supportive and being there for him and helping him out when he needed help.
DVD, I used unnecessary as the way I would describe this hiring. And I'm saying I like what Stan Bowman has done, the steps he's taken, working with Sheldon Kennedy and the Respect Group. I acknowledge what he has done in his career in the past, 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Yes, he did those things, but they didn't need to hire Stan Bowman. There were other options available. I know Jeff Jackson speaks and feels very, very, or highly regards Stan Bowman, but it could have been anyone else. You know what I mean? And it almost undoes some of the real good stuff in terms of the roster and where this team's headed that Jeff Jackson has put together. To some, not all, but I think, this kind of takes away some of that goodwill.
It does. I think it does. And I think right now, the team was kind of, on a high trajectory with all the signings and everything, and everyone was happy and excited. And this kind of, puts a fly in the ointment type thing. Like, this is, okay, why are we doing this? What's going on here? Mm-hmm. But this is the way I feel about Jeff Jackson. He's a lot smarter person than I am. Like, he is a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He went out and this hiring was a lot different than the previous hirings, when they said, we're going to go out, we're going to do our due diligence, we're going to interview a lot of people, we're going to hire the best man available. And then they turned around and gave the job to Peter Chiarelli as soon as he became available. The second time around, Chiarelli didn't work. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to interview a lot of people. We're going to hire, the best man available. They turned around and offered the job to Ken Holland when he became available. Mm-hmm. So I'm convinced that this time they did do their due diligence. They interviewed a lot of people. They talked to a lot of GMs, and they figured, okay, well, Stan Bowman must have been the best candidate available. And then to be able, they knew that the backlash they were going to get, they knew the heat they were going to get. They understood that there was going to be some significance when it comes to, former survivors saying, okay, my God, you hired this guy really that are fans of your hockey club. But to me, they did that due diligence. It's for some reason, whatever it was, they felt that Stan Bowman was the best candidate despite what happened before in Chicago. Now, was it because of his work in Chicago? Was it because they meet eye to eye? They're seeing a lot of different things. Did they feel that he would be a good fit into this management group? I don't know. But you're right. I understand the angst when it comes to this hiring. But I do think that this time around, they brought a lot of people. They talked to a lot of people. And for some reason, somehow, he became the head guy. He became the guy that they wanted to hire. So we'll see how it pans out, but I understand completely when people are like, there's something about this hiring that's going to make people uncomfortable, and I understand that.
We talked about it earlier in DVD. You've been around the team for a long time. Like, people are like, why would they do this, knowing that they don't care about the backlash. Like, I know we've got a lot of people today texting in saying, like, I'm not gonna go to games. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. But in the end, whether there's backlash or not, the building is still going to be sold out. They're still going to sell among the most jerseys in the league. Like, I said it earlier. I said, I just don't think they care what you think, because they're kind of untouchable in the market because everybody loves them so much. And that allows them the freedom to do something like this. Don't you think?
Well, I think winning does cure a lot of things, right? If the teams start winning, you look at the situation with Evander Kane came in here. A lot of people said that's a terrible signing. This is going to be bad for the team. And he came in and he was lights out in the playoffs, and everyone seemed to kind of forget about that. If this team goes out and wins 2-3, Stanley Cups with Stan Bowman as part of the management group, are we going to look back in time and say, oh, that was a bad hire because if this happened, 15, 16, 17 years ago, he didn't handle the situation the way he should have handled the situation, which he acknowledged he did not handle that situation properly. He should have handled it better. And I think maybe he's more equipped to handle that situation now. So are the Edmonton Oilers. I think maybe hockey in general is more equipped to handle situations like that. That now there are going to be predators in society, and you have to be careful. You have to weed them out, because we've all kind of been somehow connected in that regard. But I think you're right. This is a market where winning matters. And if you win, that kind of erases a lot of things. So we'll see down the road in 5 years' time, if the Oilers win 2 Stanley Cups, will we be talking about, well, Stan Bowman was the guy part of that management group. He shouldn't have been hired in that management group. It's like, this is one of those things that time does heal, and we'll see if time heals, and we'll see if results kind of, push this out of the back burner, and people start looking at Stan Bowman as the executive, not the guy who didn't do enough to protect one of his players back in the day.
One of the things that I think Tommy asked about it today on do you check in with McDavid on something like this? And Jeff Jackson said, no, they get involved in a lot of decisions and he talks to them a lot, but not in a situation like this. I have a little bit of a hard time believing that you don't give McDavid a little bit of a heads up that something like this was going to happen. Don't you think, DV? Like, if you're running an organization and you've got a golden ticket and you're like, okay, well, we want this guy to stay forever. This guy's going to be here and probably be involved in negotiating the next thing. I feel like you probably give Connor a heads up on this.
Well, I think you do give him a heads up because the minute he has his next availability, he's going to be asked about this, right? He's going to be asked about the hiring of Stan Bowman. So I'm pretty sure him and Jeff Jackson have a very close relationship. Like, let's Connor McDavid and Jeff Jackson have an extremely close relationship. It's closer than a lot of GMs or presidents of hockey operations have with most of their players. So I'm pretty sure Jeff Jackson said, listen, this guy's a candidate. He's come down to the final, 4 or 5 guys. I'm sure he got an opinion. And whether Connor said, hey, I have nothing to do with that. I'm a player. You hire who you feel is best. That's fine with me. But I do think you're right. I do think there was not necessarily consultation, but I do think he was given a heads up saying, hey, Connor, by the way, we're thinking of hiring Stan Bowman. Leon, we're thinking of hiring Stan Bowman. I think a lot of these core group guys say, this is the guy that's going to come and represent your organization. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about answering questions about that? Because I can guarantee you the very first question Connor McDavid gets in his next availability is, what are your thoughts on the Oilers hiring Stan Bowman?
Yeah, very first question. Yeah, right. Like, you have to know what's coming. Yeah.
The very first question, regardless of who asks it, it's going to be the very first question, your thoughts on Stan Bowman being hired. So I think he did get the heads up. And then, honestly, if Connor McDavid would have said, this is a bad idea, don't do it, I would be really against it. You're not going to sign me. I'm up for free agency in 2 years. I'm not going to sign with this guy. No way he would have been here.
Yeah, he's going to put his trust in Jeff Jackson, right? Like, yes, McDavid's going to do that.
Yes.
Right.
There's no way he would have been here. But, now you're looking at Bowman said wants to sign Leon Draisaitl, wants to sign Connor McDavid. And if these guys were that against this guy being the GM,
he wouldn't be the GM.
Yeah.
No, he would not be the GM.
That's good.
Yeah.
We got to wrap anyway.
I was just going to add this one thing. I know that there are people that have, discussed and done some digging on the whole situation. They also believe that Stan Bowman was kind of the guy that had to take the fall, or one of the guys that had to take the fall. And if people knew more, some think that he took more of a fall than was needed.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that has been mentioned before. I don't know if we're going to hear much about it, but
yeah,
that part of it is interesting. But just at the end of the day, it was going to be a PR nightmare. That's exactly what has happened. But we'll see.
Well, they knew it was coming. They're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
And,
they're going to deal with it, right? They knew exactly. They knew what they were getting into. These are smart people. They know what was going to happen. They know the backlash was going to happen. So, they're ready to deal with it. I thought they handled it pretty well today. They didn't back away from it. They stepped up and said, okay, well, let's talk about this right away. Let's try and get it out of the way. They answered as many questions as they could when it came to that. But I do think the big thing about what to me stood out today was that Sheldon Kennedy decided, I need to be there. I need to support this guy. I need to show everyone that I am behind this hiring. And I think, I don't know if that helps at all, but I do think when you have a guy like that on your side, it kind of hammers home the point that Stan Bowman has grown, feels he has made the change, and he reached out and he wanted to be a better person when it comes to handling situations like this.
All right, excellent, DVD. We appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for the time.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
There you go. That is Derek Van Diest joining us here on the Oil Stream as we get to wrap up today at EST. We've got the Nielsen Show replay coming up on TuneIn or on iHeart. Oh, look who it is. They who cannot be named.
They who shall not be named.
They who shall not be named.
Look at that big smile.
Nasty Bash. Friday night. Big announcement here for Edmonton Sports Talk. What an interesting day. Thank you very much to everybody for all of your honest opinions and feelings on this discussion. We like to provide here at EST a platform where you can have your opinion. We won't always disagree with it. Sometimes we'll think you're pretty stupid. But other times we make ourselves look stupid in certain situations. So thanks for chiming in today. We appreciate it. Obviously, we'll have more on this tomorrow morning on the Nielson Show. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hammer the thumbs up for us and give us a sub before you leave, or if you're watching archived a little bit later on. We are we're closing in, working our way up towards 10,000 subs. So we would appreciate that over there. It's EST meeting time. Tommy, good job at the press conference today, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Another interesting day. Hey?
This was these are bad, or not bad. These are hard conversations, and makes our job interesting.
Well, you know what? I'll just say this. I'll wrap up with this. You're right, they're hard conversations, but us having a conversation about this is not near as hard as somebody who would have been sexually assaulted and wants to go have a conversation and pass and let it be known that there are some predators out there. So hopefully, when it's all said and done, and Stan Bowman, with a changed opinion, a changed view on how to handle these types of things, hopefully, in the end, this starts to happen less in hockey culture, in sports culture, in regular life. And if we have to have that conversation to help people who are like, yeah, you know what? I've been abused. I'm going to go talk to somebody about it.
Good point.
Then hopefully you do. So for YouTube, Trev and Tom Gazzola, I'm Dustin Nielson. Thank you to our presenting sponsor of the Oil Stream over at Boston Pizza. Tell your friends about Edmonton Sports Talk. We got some big news coming down the pipe later this week that is going to change things a little bit in this city. So we're excited to do that. Have a great day and take it easy.